Welcome, everybody, to the Washington Council for High School College Relations Virtual College Planning Day. And thank you so much for joining us today. A few housekeeping announcements before we get started. You can use the Q&A button on your screen to type questions to our panelists at any time. Your camera and microphone are both off, so they cannot see nor hear you. This is actually the last session for this event, so thank you so much for joining us. And if you would like to access this recording, it's going to be available within a week at strivescan.com/WashCouncil. And I'd love to turn it over to our first panelist, who is from Tacoma Community College.
Hello everyone, my name is Neelam. Let me just share my screen with you. All right, so like I mentioned, my name is Neelam and I am the K-12 Outreach and Recruitment Specialist here at TCC. If you have any questions, please feel free to utilize the chat and then I will respond back to your questions there. Thank you. All right, so Tacoma Community College, we are located in Tacoma, Washington. So we are a two-year college. So majority of our programs and degrees at TCC can be completed in 2 years. There are some programs that can be completed a little bit quicker, and then there are some that might take a little bit longer, but majority of the programs are done within 2 years. And we do offer 74 associate's degrees on our campus, 25 professional and technical certificates, and then we also have 4 Bachelor of Applied Science degrees. So we just want to make sure that we have a variety of different programs to offer students, because we all know students have their own different pathways, and we just want to have a variety for all the students that attend our college. So at TCC, we do have 5 different programs of interest, which we also call clusters. So the first one is arts and communication, then we have business, health and wellness, people and communities, and then we also have multiple STEM programs as well. So on the screen here, you can see just a few, but if you do visit our academics programs webpage, it will list all the programs that we offer and any information that you need to know about the programs, or you kind of want to compare different programs on our campus. All that information will be listed on our programs Finder webpage for you. So earlier I was mentioning different pathways. So a lot of our students do receive associate's degrees, and then their plan is to transfer to a university after they have completed their degree at TCC. So we do have a direct transfer agreement with the public universities within our state. So you can transfer up to at least 90 credits. And if you are interested in attending a private university, then you can contact the admissions specialist there to kind of get an idea of how their transfer process works and how many of your credits will actually transfer over. And a lot of times, if you are completing your 2-year degree with us, and when you transfer over to the university, you won't transfer over as a freshman student. Depending how many credits you have, you can transfer in as a sophomore or a junior student to that university. So that's kind of how the transfer pathway works for students. And then we also have career training programs, which are our professional and technical programs and certificates, and then also the Bachelor of Applied Science programs. So a lot of these programs are very hands-on, and the focus of those programs is to help students finish their degree with us and then go straight into the workforce after they graduate. But then some of these programs do have that transfer option as well. And then the Bachelor of Applied Sciences, this is for students that maybe have completed their first 2 years at TCC or a different community college, and they would like to stay at the community college. So then they would apply for the bachelor's program, and then they would complete their last 2 years in that bachelor's program. So those are kind of the options we have: transfer options, going straight into the workforce after you graduate, and then also our Bachelor of Applied Science programs. So that is the variety that we offer at our campus. And so after you kind of decide which program you're interested in, we are an open access school, so we do have 4 quarters. We are on the quarter system. So you are able to apply for whichever quarter you are interested in starting. And normally the application for each quarter does close a week before the actual quarter starts. And when you do apply, within 2 to 3 business days, you'll end up receiving your welcome letter, which will include your student ID number, and then it will also include any next steps that you need to complete. And on our application, we do not require an essay question, and we do not require SAT or ACT scores to get into our school. The application will just ask you general information, and it shouldn't take you any longer than 10 minutes to complete. And our application is also free for our students to complete. And so with next steps, after you receive the welcome letter, your first step will just to be activating your student accounts, which we have 3 student accounts, and then funding your education. So will you be utilizing financial aid, scholarship funds? Will you be paying out of pocket? How will you be paying for your school? And then we have placement. So this is really to determine course placement for math and English for our students, to see, is the student at pre-college level or are they at college level? And this can be done by submitting your unofficial high school transcripts, or if you've gone to college before, like let's say Running Start, then you can turn in those unofficial college transcripts as well. And then we also have new student orientation, which is done through our advising center. So right now this is being done virtually, and when you complete all these next steps, then whenever open enrollment begins, then you can enroll in classes. And you can also find these next steps and our application on our admissions process page, and these next steps will also be included on your welcome letter as well. So once you become a student, there are multiple ways for students to engage on campus and be involved with campus in general. So we do have our Office of Student Engagement, and they do host multiple different events on campus. We have student body government, where students can join different roles on campus. There's athletics for students that are interested in playing sports. And then we do have multiple different student clubs on campus as well. So I do have some listed on the screen here. So if you see a club that you're interested in, then you can join that club. If there's a club that you don't see on the list and you're interested in creating a club, then you are able to do so. So you would just contact the student engagement office, and they will help you with that process and what the steps are in order to create your own club. So these are just some ways to get involved on campus and just be a part of student life in general. And then we also offer our students multiple different student support services as well. So we have access services, counseling, the Office of Student Engagement that I mentioned, workforce funding, and veteran services, just to name a few. So we do offer multiple different services on our campus in order to help support our students in general to just be successful in their educational goals and even career and personal goals. We really want to set our students up for that success. And then we do also offer multiple tutoring opportunities on our campus. So we do have a business education center, the math center, and the writing and tutoring center. So I would recommend that students utilize these services. They are free to students, and the staff and students that actually work in those tutoring centers are really helpful. So I would suggest checking that out as well. And just to name some important deadlines for you. If you are interested in attending Tacoma Community College, and let's say you're planning to start fall quarter, and you're going to be utilizing financial aid, the financial aid deadline is May 27th for fall quarter. So that is happening next month. So if you are planning to start fall quarter and want to utilize financial aid funds, then just make sure that you have completed your application for that before that May 27th deadline. deadline. That way you can receive and use those financial aid funds for when you start school. And then earlier I did mention we are open enrollment for all 4 quarters. So the application for each quarter will close a week before the quarter starts. But I do suggest that you apply a little bit more in advance and not wait until later. That way you just get all your next steps completed and you're kind of good to go and you can enroll in classes. But the application does not close until a week before though. And then we also have different pages that you can utilize, especially in your beginning stages. So I would recommend checking out the admissions process page, the admissions support page, or our programs finder page as well. And you can also reach out to us if you do have any questions and we can help you with that part too. And then if you do have any questions regarding like different programs, resources, how to apply, or you need help applying to TCC, then we can definitely help you with that. Just feel free to reach out to us and we will be happy to assist you. Thank you.
Thank you, Neelam. Next up, we have our representative from Whitman College.
Thanks so much, Alvaro. Good morning, everyone. I'm actually going to be putting my contact information in the chat there for you as we get started. And I think it's really important for us to start and think about what Whitman stands for, what kind of institution it is. We're located in Walla Walla in the southeast part of the state in the desert climate of Washington. And we are a private liberal arts college, which I think you'll find 2 key factors across many of these small liberal arts schools. One, there's great academic flexibility. You'll see all the different majors and minors that we have there. But they're also very small institutions. Whitman, in fact, is one of the smallest with only 1,500 students. And so as you can see, that manifests in very small class sizes and a great student to faculty ratio. But what I'm going to specifically talk about are things that I think make Whitman jump out and distinguish itself from a lot of the other small schools you may see. And it starts with the curriculum and the academic rigor we find here. I think the most successful Whitman students are those who didn't necessarily try to take all the different APs and IPs courses in their high school curriculum, but really focused on the courses that mattered most to them, really worked to identify their passions. And those students will come to Whitman and really infuse the classroom with that passion themselves. You're going to be surrounded by people here who truly care about their subjects and wanting to learn and enrich themselves. And it's a pretty inspiring group of people to be around. I think that goes hand in hand with some of the experiential learning that you do here. Whitman is going to give you chances to really be flexible with that curriculum and offer opportunities for double majoring, having an interdisciplinary combined major, which is more like 1.5 majors with 2 subjects, or even create your own. For example, combining the astronomy and the physics department into an astrophysics major. You're going to have this flexibility to really mix and match different majors, minors into the subjects you care most about. And the beauty of going to a place like Whitman is there's no 1 or 2 majors that dominate the entire curriculum. Pretty even numbers of students are going into computer science, biology, politics, English, economics, math, physics. It really runs the gambit. And so you don't need to feel like you're going to have tons of competition to get into your major because it's so spread out and it's so equal across all the different areas with resources. But we also, I think, really make a point to emphasize the collaboration and the different discussion aspects you'll have here. In every single course you'll take, whether it's more in the STEM fields or more social sciences and humanities, you're going to have chances to really engage closely with your peers and your professors, leading classroom discussions, maybe doing some lab work, but also balancing that with peer review literature and working one-on-one with your faculty members. I think it speaks volumes about the way that faculty interact with students here by the fact that 95% of the faculty live within 2 miles of the Whitman campus. So you're going to be able to get to know them much more closely than you would at a lot of other institutions, running into them in town, maybe going to their house for dinner at the end of the semester, being in classes of 10 people or less often from your junior and senior year, and maybe even getting to do collaborative research with them over the summers or as a part-time work opportunity during the class year. So understand that I think a lot of Whitman students are drawn to this experience because of the close relationships you get to make with your peers and your faculty and all the different academic flexibilities you have at a place where you don't actually have to finalize your major until your sophomore year. Everyone comes in undeclared. I also think it's incredibly important to think about the community and the environment that people are going into on an interpersonal basis. As I mentioned before, with only 1,500 students, Whitman is one of the smaller schools you're going to find. And so whether you're taking advantage of all the different 120 organizations we have in the outdoor program, the arts and music performance sector, the debate team, volunteering and internships, working in the community as a consulting student fellow or community opportunist, or being an entrepreneur, all these different organizations and networks, you're in small, tight-knit groups, and you're really making foundational relationships with people. I think the residential system is set up so well here in the fact that you have resident advisors as a dorm peer level social life overseer. You have a resident director, a full-time staff member to be there as an extra layer of support, student advisors who are there as academic resources in your residence halls. All of these different opportunities and individuals go such a long way to making you feel supported and feeling like you've got a great group to rely on here. And everything is so flexible to engage with. You'll see students pursue and stick with one specific organization, student community for 4 years, or you may see someone hop across a bunch of different sectors. Oftentimes, students who live off campus during their 3rd and 4th year in apartment housing will spend more time volunteering and interning in town. And that actually gets to one of the pieces of our location, which I think is incredibly important as you consider where Whitman falls in your college list. Going to a liberal arts school in a small college like this, where academic flexibility is at a premium, you should also be asking the question, how am I balancing that academic coverage and variety with great tangible professional skills that will make sure I succeed after Whitman? And our relationship with the Walla Walla community does such a great job providing students with that professional development scenario. We have these incredible relationships with people from the agriculture, healthcare, tech, nonprofit, education sectors, across many others too. And students are constantly getting involved in the community on a meaningful level. And the difference from Whitman and Walla Walla compared to an urban area is that you'll actually be a key influential member of a team, getting to contribute and leaving your impact and building out your resume more thoroughly than you might taking on an internship in a more urban setting where you're one of hundreds or thousands of team members. But I'll also mention that Whitman is acknowledgedly or admittedly on the unceded land of the Umatilla Indian tribes of the Confederated Indian Reservation here. And Whitman students have worked incredibly hard over the last few years to pay reparations to this group, to involve the Indigenous peoples more closely in the framework of campus and the ongoing discussions about how to use this land and how to repurpose it to make sure it is respectful to all peoples who are in the area. So I think Whitman students do a great job at thinking critically about the issues that might be plaguing both the students and the community at large, and thinking about how to rework that and be as inclusive of an environment as possible. With that, I will transition and leave you with some parting general admission application financial aid information in case this is a school that you might be interested in. We do have 3 rounds: early decision 1, early decision 2, and regular decision. And I mentioned those because ED1 and ED2 tend to have much higher admission rates than regular decision. But even still, our regular decision rate is actually much higher than very similarly competitive schools across the Pacific Northwest or across the country. And that's one of the reasons I like working here, is we don't have to say no to as many students as other top-end liberal arts schools. This is a very intentional decision to come to a place with this much academic flexibility and with a relatively small school where you're building these relationships that will last you such a long time compared to tens and thousands of individuals at a state school. They're very different environments. I'll also draw your attention to some of the application components, specifically testing and interviewing. Whitman's been a test optional school for 5 years and has no plans to change. So we're very concerned with looking at your entire application, even beyond the grades and the course rigor that you took on, and getting to know really what fulfills you, what motivates you, and get to know you on a personal level. And the interview also helps with that. It is an optional component, but I highly recommend you take advantage of an interview with a senior admission intern or an admission officer like myself. These are open specifically for high school seniors. So look out for those at the end of your summer, maybe early fall, to start launching. And I can tell you that the students in regular decision among thousands of applications who have an interview often fare much better because we've taken the time to really get to know them better as a human being and have some of that extra context that goes a long way. And finally, I'll touch on financial aid, just so that you can kind of get a sense of how Whitman awards different monetary resources. You'll see the overall cost of attendance on the website, and you'll see it's about $71,000. And it's going to seem astronomical. I certainly could not have afforded that when I was going to school, and I relied on need-based aid from a very similar institution. And so I'll mention that over 3/4 of the students here at Whitman are on some financial aid package. And even if you're in Washington State, If your family makes less than $80,000 a year, we're guaranteeing that we're going to meet your full financial need based on whatever you can contribute and what you need to meet the rest of that cost of attendance. So between our need-based awards, merit-based academic achievement awards, and even talent-based scholarships that you can audition and apply for, Whitman does a fantastic job at making that cost of attendance much more affordable for families, no matter whether you can or you can't afford the cost of attendance out of pocket. We want to see you here if you are an awesome student and believe in your potential. So with that, I'm going to wrap up and have it transition back to the other presenters. But please know that you are more than welcome and highly encouraged to contact myself and our other admission officers on our team. You'll find our information on the website. I certainly hope to hear from you soon if Whitman is a place of interest. It's a beautiful campus. I highly recommend coming out here in the springtime. It is so delightful. Thank you so much all for your time.
Awesome. Thank you, Henry. Before we move on to our last institution, I just want to remind our audience that you can use your Q&A feature to ask questions. So don't be shy and plug in your questions and they'll get to them as soon as possible. Our last institution to present is going to be Western Washington University. And Julia, the floor is yours.
Thanks for the introduction. My name is Julia Ide. I am an admissions counselor at Western Washington University. I'm also joined by my colleague, Tina Castillo. She's another one of our admissions counselors, and she'll be here to answer questions that you send in through the Q&A. So please feel free to use that. We want to answer your questions. Also going to put my contact info in the chat as well. Feel free to grab that and reach out later if you think of some questions after the presentation. And I want to start us off with some information about our location. We're in Bellingham, Washington, about 90 minutes north of Seattle. We're really lucky with our location for a few different reasons. One of them you can see from that picture right there. We are right next to the water. That's Bellingham Bay. It's about a mile away from campus, so it's really easy to get there. And there are several different parks on the water. It's a really nice, relaxing place to walk along the boardwalk, do a bit of swimming, although it can be pretty cold. And in the opposite direction to the east is the Mount Baker ski area. So whether you enjoy outdoor activities in the mountains, on the water, literally anything in between, because campus is between the water and the mountains, then we are your place. We are an outdoor lover's paradise. But if that's not quite your thing, don't worry, there's going to be plenty for you as well. Downtown Bellingham is just a short 15-minute walk away. We also have a great bus system in town. So if it's a little rainy, you can take the bus downtown really easily. In this downtown area, you're going to find some great coffee shops. We have really great food in town. We are very lucky with our options, some really great local restaurants. So it's a great place if you want to get a bite to eat between classes. There's also some used bookstores, local shops, 2 independent film centers, a comedy club. So it's a really great place to explore. And there's always something to do, whether it's on campus, in the downtown or surrounding area, or in this outdoor area that we are surrounded by. Some information about Western as well, just to get us started. So we are a mid-sized university. We have about 16,000 students. So we are kind of on the upper end of mid-size, but we are 95% undergraduate. So we are an undergraduate focused university. And I'll tell you more about that on the next slide. So just keep that 95 number in mind. You can see our average class size and student to faculty ratio there. I do also want to highlight that 99% of our classes are going to be taught by professors. So right away from day one, you have access to our professors, many of whom have the highest degree available in their field. And our academics, we have more than 175 different majors across our 7 colleges that make up Western Washington University. I really encourage you to explore your options. There are so many different programs out there. You might find one that really aligns with your interests, or you might find something that you didn't even know you could major in, but you're really excited about studying. So I really encourage you to explore those options. And at Western, if you are undecided, you start at Western, but you're still not sure what you want to study, don't worry. You have time to figure that out. You have time to explore classes in different fields and subjects. And you also have our Academic Advising and Career Services Center to help you find a major and make sure you're on track for that. I want to shout out a few of our colleges off of that list. So first of all, Woodring College of Education. If you want to be a teacher, then Woodring is a great place for you. We have programs in early childhood, elementary, secondary, special education, and educational leadership. So that's a good one to check out. Huxley College of the Environment is another one I like to highlight here. Huxley College was one of the first environmental colleges in the United States. So this is something that Western has prioritized for some time, how we can make our campus and our communities more sustainable. One of the benefits of having a full College of the Environment is that there are going to be multiple degree options within both environmental sciences and environmental studies, so that you can find that program that will be the right fit for you. Speaking of finding that right fit, last on that list, but definitely not least, is the Fairhaven College of Interdisciplinary Studies. And Fairhaven College is very unique. It's our smallest college on campus. They have about 300 students. But what really stands out is through Fairhaven, you have the opportunity to design your own major. So if you have interests that lie in the intersections of multiple disciplines, or if you're interested in social justice and the law, I really encourage you to take a look at Fairhaven College, which also houses our Center for Law, Diversity, and Justice here on campus. On the second half of this, you can see our popular majors. I do want to emphasize popular doesn't automatically equal better. These are just some of the larger programs we have on campus. But all of our majors, whether you are in the sciences, in the arts, in the humanities, you're going to have those opportunities to, one, connect with your professors, and two, have hands-on learning and explore what you're studying outside of the classroom. I mentioned on that last slide, we are 95% undergraduate and 99% of classes are taught by professors. So why that matters to you as potential undergraduate students is that you have access to your faculty. Your classes, most of your classes will be taught by professors, not graduate students. So you can go to office hours, ask questions, ask your professor about their research, maybe even get involved in their research, because we want to make sure you have those opportunities to really expand your skill set outside of the classroom and really dive into what you're studying so that you can really narrow in on your interests. And another big part, of course, of your college experience is student life, building your community and being really a part of this Western community we have here on campus. One really easy way to do that is through clubs. We have more than 250 different clubs, ranging from academic-based clubs like chemistry club, psychology club. There's the Professional Women's Association, skiing and snowboarding club, Harry Potter club, all kinds of interests. So it's a really great way to get to know some other students. Perhaps you don't know many or anyone at Western. It's a good way to find people who have those same interests so you can keep doing what you enjoy and build your community while you're doing that. Residence hall activities, if you live on campus, it's not required to live on campus your first year or any year, but many first-year students do choose to live on campus. This is a really easy way, really convenient way to get involved because it's right where you're living. And study abroad. We have a great education abroad program at Western. It's open to all majors. So whether you're interested in studying in Japan, we have a sister school in Japan. You can go to Europe, Mexico, all over the world. You can find that program that's going to align with your interests, and the Education Abroad office just helps you with all of that planning and process. But you don't have to go far away to see some really amazing places. So the Lakewood Boathouse and Outdoor Center. These are two spaces we have on campus and very close to campus that can help you get outside. The Lakewood Boathouse is over on Lake Whatcom. You can borrow kayaks, canoes, paddle boards. You can even take a sailing class and get credit for learning how to sail. And then the Outdoor Center. So maybe you're new to these outdoor activities. You haven't had a chance to try mountain biking or kayaking, but you want to learn how it's done. You can borrow equipment and sign up for an excursion led by Outdoor Center staff so you can get outside. We do also want to make sure we're providing that support for you because there's no one formula to a successful college experience. So that support that you need might vary from what another student needs, and that's okay. The best advice I can give you is check in with yourself, be aware of your needs, and advocate for yourself. Let us know what it is that you might need so we can get you connected with that support resource. We have our counseling center, career services center. We have support for academics, advising, tutoring. So reach out and take advantage of those. Info on our application. We do have an online application. We are test optional at Western. So if you have taken the SAT, ACT and want us to review those scores, you can send them in, but it's not required. So it's really up to you. The essay and activity list is where we get to know you as an individual. So really take some time, put some thought and care into that, because that's where we get to hear about your passions, what you want to study, your dream career, what you're excited about. And there's also an optional tell us more essay where you just can fill in all of that extra context. Letters of recommendation are also optional. Feel free to send those in. And we do have a $60 application fee, but we have need-based fee waivers as well. So we don't want this to be a burden on you. We don't want this to prevent you from applying. If you need a fee waiver, you can request it at the end of the application. And scholarships and cost of attendance. So Western actually has the second lowest tuition of the 4-year public universities in Washington state. So we do have that commitment to affordability. And then for financial aid, you can apply for either FAFSA or WAFSA, just depending if you qualify for federal aid, you can use the FAFSA. If you're a state resident who doesn't qualify for federal aid, you can still submit that WAFSA for Washington state aid. And then scholarships as well. So when you apply to Western, your application doubles as your application for financial aid, or not financial, for admission and for scholarships. So nothing extra, kind of 2 birds, 1 stone, admission, and we automatically review you for those merit-based awards, Multicultural Achievement Program, and Leadership and Distinguished Scholars Program. So again, put some care into that essay and activity list because it can help out in the scholarship review process. And then once you get to Western, you have access to our scholarship center as well. So they can help you find awards for later years to help fund those later years in college. And reach out. Here we have our wonderful admissions team. Feel free to reach out to myself, to Tina, or any of the other counselors you see here. We are here to be a resource to you and help you through this process. So if you have any questions, whether it's about the application or what it's like to attend Western, we can get you connected with students in our office as well. So just let us know. We're really excited to help you through this process. With that, I will pass it back to the other panelists. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Julia. So folks, give me 1 second as I transition into the last portion of our session, but it is going to be a quick Q&A session with our panelists. 1 second now. Great, I am all ready to go. So the first question is going to be, what advice would you give someone going through the college search process? And we can start with our first institution, which is Tacoma Community College.
Yeah, so the advice I would give is when you are researching your different schools, just reaching out to those admission specialists. That way you do have someone there that can answer your questions and kind of help you along with the process. And another important thing would be just visiting the college campuses. So every college that you are interested in or you think you are interested in, just visit their campuses. That way you can kind of get an idea of what like the campus vibe is. And if you actually see yourself, being on that campus. So I feel like visiting campuses are, it's important to do that.
And I would say not just visiting campuses, but even if you have no intention of going to school in your hometown or nearby you, and you specifically want to go across the state or out of state, take the time and visit the schools nearby you, particularly while there are still restrictions from COVID, because it's just seeing schools of different types of institutions nearby you will give you a sense of what other kinds of schools are out there. And it will help you understand how the state schools versus the liberal arts schools 5 states away compare because of the ones you've seen in person. So understand that there are going to be restrictions still for a little while on visiting campuses, but take advantage of the ones that are open because they'll still help inform your college search and understand the differences between schools.
Yeah, and my advice would be to take some time and think about what you want out of a college experience. So not just the academic aspect and what majors are available at that school, but what do you want while you're in college? What do you want your life to be like? Do you want to be in an urban or rural setting? Do you want to have access to certain activities? Do you want to be a part of a certain community? Take some time to think about that, and that will help you assess your options when you're looking at different colleges.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. I'm sure that our audience understands that this is a process, so that advice is very much appreciated. Our next question is a little bit more about culture life and what it's like to be on campus. So Neelam, if you can really start us off with this question of what is your favorite event or tradition on campus?
Yeah, so one of my favorite events is Lunar New Year, which is hosted by our API club. So that is done once a year during that time frame. And it's just fun because they host multiple different activities. And then there's a lot of like good food on campus. And it is a way for everyone to just come together, celebrate Lunar New Year, and also get to build that community with our staff and students.
One of the really fun traditions you all can look forward to if you're admitted students and you actually enroll at Whitman is every single summer, Whitman sends you and a box with a couple Walla Walla sweet onions. They are the official crop of the area, and people use them in all sorts of recipes. And so if you actually enroll at Whitman, you will get a box with some onions with some fun recipes on how to use them best. I certainly cook with them almost every night. Can't recommend them highly enough.
That's a great one. One of my favorite traditions at Western is during the winter when it's a little bit cold and rainy, there will be a series of movies inside in some of the larger lecture halls. So you can bring snacks, bring a blanket, pillows, get nice and cozy and just watch a movie. It's like going to the movie theater, but free. So that's really fun.
Awesome, thank you. And we do have time for one more question, so I'll go ahead and throw it out there. The last question is, give an interesting or fun fact about your school.
Yeah, so a fun fact about our school is that we do actually have a digital music studio and a multimedia lab. Sometimes it's kind of in the corner of one of the buildings, so it does get missed. But students are able to utilize that space to create music, create different type of videos, or just content in general. So it is a pretty cool space. So I would suggest students check that space out if you ever do have the opportunity to come visit our campus.
Perhaps Whitman's most well-known alum is Adam West, who is the original Batman. And so he often makes trips back to town. There are a bunch of streets and events named after Adam West. So certainly Whitman and Walla Walla lean into the Batman craze, and there's a bunch of themed events you'll see every year about it.
And a fun fact about Western is one of our faculty members is actually one of the researchers who also gets to drive the Curiosity Mars rover. So that's pretty exciting.
Wow, those are really fascinating. Well, folks, that brings us to the end of our presentation. I definitely want to say thank you so much to our panelists. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing and for bringing the same energy throughout this discussion. And also to our audience for being very active and asking questions to our panelists throughout the presentation. Once you close this window, there's going to be a very quick 4-question survey, and we'd appreciate any feedback that you could provide. As I mentioned at the beginning, this is the last session that was going to be hosted for this session, for this event. So thank you so much for joining us throughout this event. And in about a week, you can find this same recording at stripescan.com/wash council. Thank you so much, everybody, and have a great day, evening from wherever you join us from.